Hey there friends, and welcome back to Shabby Shack Studio. Today we are all about the August Bujo. I do apologise for July. It was for just a couple of quick shorts. It was just too crazy in the studio for me to dedicate that time to doing a full video, but there is quite a lot on my Insta, so do jump over and follow me on socials. So there's still lots of little shorts, but it's just not a full video. So the good thing is that August is huge. August was 200 minutes to edit down, so I really did a big video with lots, and including the Australia watercolour you can see, which will be in a separate watercolour video it's going to be a bigger video with a lot of the action in that. So I will link it for you below as soon as it's live. It will be coming just after this one. So let's talk August and let's talk Page Keeper, which is what you can see currently on your screen. As you can see, I started off with my gorgeous black cardstock, always a favorite with you and me. I just did a really gentle pencil sketch. As you can see, it's an incomplete. It was just an idea of the scale of the flowers, etc., what I was going to do. My Page Keeper always sets the theme for the month, which I love. You know that if you've been here a minute that I have a handmade journal that I created. Again, I will link that for you, but you can hit subscribe, support the channel, and have it pop over there and have a look if that's something that you would like to do. There is kind of a step-by-step and all the products and tools that I love, so all that information will be linked below and it will be on those individual videos as well. If you know me at all, you know that I love this loose, sketchy style. I don't like to generally make things too exact and too perfect. To me, the imperfections are, that's life. That's the beauty of art. So you really can see me just feeling my way and stopping and thinking, and where do I need another petal, another flower, another leaf, and then mixing between the colours. And you can see that ochre, that beautiful terracotta red, and a lovely sage green. So you can see me mixing between those, and then just picking up my white gel pen and just adding the stamen and a little bit of detail there so it pops on the page. So there you go, there's the completed Page Keeper. Before we move on, now this is the cover page. So my cover page is in fact my Australia artwork. You can see me taping the page up first. My favourite Mont watercolour book. This is a 190 GSM A5 notepad that I just adore. It's picking up my masking fluid there, my Winsor & Newton masking fluid, and just a cheap brush, not an expensive one. Now you can see the little yellow highlighted dots there on the page. Now that is actually where I just dabbed on, just randomly, the masking fluid, just because I want to make sure that there's some spaces when I do my final artwork, so it doesn't look like there's too much colour and there's some petals and some stamens from the blooms are shining through. Okay, you can see a few of my pans, my favourite colours that, especially at the moment, I'm working on a new textile collection, and this colour palette is going to be what it's all about, and this theme. So for me, August is going to be a huge month, a really creative month, and I always surround myself with what is going on in my world when I design my own bujo each month. So you actually get a bit of a window to my soul with whatever I'm creating. So here you can see me starting my Australia watercolour. I won't give too much away. I do skip through this quite quickly because there is a whole watercolour dedicated to this, and quite a lot of minutes now looking at it today of video there to edit for you. But I will include a lot of the detail and mostly in real time as well. So if you wanted, you can paint along with me if it's something you want to do. So the colours that you can see that I've mixed up are the yellow ochre, a burnt sienna, a little bit of burnt umber, and my favourite sap green. And then I do actually go and pick up a little bit of the quinacridone rose in a moment, because I just felt that my Uluru or my Ayers rock needed a little bit more kind of that clay pink. So I do add a little bit that in at the moment. Now you can see my very loose style, adding in some colour here and there. These will be my wildflowers. Again, you can see that my masking fluid has dried to be like that fluorescent yellow that you saw at the bottom of the actual jar, that I was encouraging you to shake until that yellow had mixed in. So you can actually see where your masking fluid is. So this is a good thing, and it's really easy at the end. Once everything's dried, really, really well dried, so I left it overnight, you actually can just rub an eraser over it. I use my Faber-Castell Kneadable eraser, or even your finger. You can actually just rub your finger over it, especially on this paper. This paper has an amazing texture, so it doesn't want to hold on to the masking fluid or want to tear the page. It came off really nicely at the end, so you'll see that. You'll see that in just a moment. So you can see me skipping through this quite quickly so that you can see the design as it grows, the layering of colour as it happens. You can see that I'm adding in the sun now, that beautiful hazy, when it's very, very hot, especially in the outback when it can be quite dry as well. So I hope that you get a little bit of a feel for this piece, and again I will link it for you below as soon as the video is ready, which I expect to be released in the next day or so, or better still, hit subscribe and you'll be notified as soon as it's live. So there's a little bit of that pink that you saw me adding in, the quinacridone rose, to show my little wildflowers. So I had left it dry overnight at this stage, and I had rubbed off the masking fluid and added the finishing touches last before I removed the tape, and that's just an inexpensive washi tape, and then named it. So that actually went into my bujo as, if you could actually see my flip through as well on my social media, but it actually does go in as my cover page, but just with nothing else written on it. It's just exactly as is to inspire me every day as I'm creating this new textile collection. Okay, so we moved on. I wanted to do an inspiration page. I haven't done one in ages, and have been just a little bit time poor. I've been so crazy with the move and with the busyness in the studio. So it just felt lovely this month to spend a little bit more time on my bullet journal now that I've got some of the big orders completed that I had on my to-do list. So this is just a really sweet little proverb I found. It's actually an Aboriginal proverb, which is so suited to this month's theme and our beautiful country, Australia. Those who stop dreaming are lost. So again, I wanted to tape it with the washi just to continue with the cover page idea, because I wanted the flowers to look like they were, like that was quite full on the page. You can see that I have actually just put in a really gentle pencil sketch. This is not a heavy pencil line, so just remember to be light with your pencil so that you're actually not denting your page, so that if you do just so when you're rubbing it out at the end, there's not actual dents in your page. So if you're adding colour and Copic, you're not losing the colour in those dents, and they quite often will remain white. So just to be gentle with your pencil, just use a soft lead. So you can see me just adding in those blooms again, keeping it very loose and relaxed, feeling my way. Isn't it funny the habits you see? The way I move my pencil when I'm thinking, or my pen. I notice it so much now when I'm editing, when I'm thinking how I move my pen. Anyway, so I picked up my favourite Faber-Castell, just those three colours. So as you can see, not complicated. Anybody could do this. Really suitable for a beginner, because you can't be wrong. I mean, look how I'm just wiggling the pencil for a petal or a leaf or a stem. Let's face it, if it was a field of wildflowers, the petals and the blooms would just be falling all over each other as they grew. Mother Nature doesn't have, you know, the laws of everything being perfect. She's perfect in her imperfection. So that's exactly how I've drawn these flowers, falling over each other, and little petals that are loose, or flowers that have lost all but one, and exactly how it is out in our beautiful, beautiful world. lastly, I picked up my Kneadable eraser, and I'm just gently removing those pencil lines from behind. Of course, I waited till my white gel pen had dried completely. I'm loving how, and it says stop dreaming, that the G actually disappears underneath the tape. I don't adjust that. I want it to stay with like that border, so it sits like that. And then I'm just cleaning up as I remove my washi tape, any extra pencil lines. This is always so satisfying to watch. And leaving that beautiful clean little border on my affirmation page. Okay, moving straight back on, I actually just turned that page over. The black cardstock is such a lovely thick weight. I can do that without it having any ghosting or bleed through. So there's my beginning of August, that goes across onto the other page. Again, the beauty of a handmade journal, I can add any cardstock paper I like. I can add watercolor paper, and I do use my silk paper, the digital silk paper, a lot as well, which is beautiful for my Copic markers. I use a huge blend of different papers depending on what medium I'm using for each page or each design or whatever it is that I want to add in. I just add randomly things and pieces of artwork that I don't want to lose, that are inspiring me with a different range or a new release or whatever. So, I mean, you could even add in pieces that you find or quotes that you see, or tear something out of a newspaper or even a recipe, and you could add that in if you create your own bujo like I do. It just means you don't have to tape it into what's existing, which can make it a bit thick. Of course, you can, if you are a person that likes to use the grid paper and a standard bujo that you've picked up from wherever, you can do exactly this and then tape it in and add that interest. But quite honestly, you don't have to please anyone but yourself. And it's certainly, if you like a nice big fat chubby journal that's bursting at the seams with beauty, then do what suits you. Absolutely. So again, you can see I've left space for notes. I've just showed you quite a lot of detail how I added these little squares in. They're simply 3x3, guys, 3x3 centimeters. So if you don't have a grid book, it's simple to do. I did have the other page there to make sure that my dates were correct. Again, you can see me thinking about where to add a flower, where to add a leaf, where I need a bit more colour. I wanted the notes to kind of be crowded by the flowers, these beautiful wildflowers that would be growing in our Australian bush. Okay, so there you can see my favourite pencils and white marker, and then you can see how I did the reverse on the white digital paper, silk paper, and then I just used Copic for the flowers and my black pigment liner to outline them. Again, I switched and just turned that over. The silk paper shows maybe the tiniest little bit of ghosting sometimes if I'm really heavy with the Copic, but if I'm quite light and I'm not going over it and building too much colour, it handles me using the front and the back really, really well. So I don't get stressed out and cut a new page or anything like that. I do use the front and the back for my weekly spread like this. So that's my Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm just showing you the beginning of how I do that. Again, do that so it suits you. So if you want a full day to a page, then do a full day to a page. If you want a whole week to a page, then just make the spaces a bit smaller. These are actually columns this month, and I've actually done, you can see some really light sketches through the center. I wanted my wildflowers again to be scattered throughout the center of my pages. Again, this is super easy to do, and you can create each page as the week comes, or in front of the telly at night time watching a favorite movie or a series. Again, you can see I picked up my Copic markers. I will put the names and the colors and link all of the details below. But you can see it's a very casual loose style that I have. Just a general blobby shape is a petal or a leaf. I've added a little bit of colour. Again, I'm not worrying about staying within the lines. I love that sketchy look. That's absolutely me. You can see me looking at which end of the pigment liner I've picked up. That's because I want that nice little sharp edge. Each one also has a chisel edge at the other side, so that's just standard Copics. Again, I've gone back Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I actually put the date over the top, which is just one of my favourite ways to do that. And then I'll outline that with my pigment liner last of all. As you can see, that is such an easy, basic weekly spread. Anybody could do this, but it's effective, and there's lots and lots of space there for me to put lots of notes in and details to myself of what's going on, or even just in a bullet point style or whatever suits you. Okay, moving on to the next one. I did my colour palette. It's been missing for a couple of months because, again, being time poor. But I really wanted to do a really loose colour palette, and you can see the colours are already mixed from the cover page that I'd done previously on my palette. The palette was just a really inexpensive one I picked up on the sale rack at H&M. I can't link it for you guys because they're sold out in most of the stores. But again, it's just a beautiful little pottery piece. So if you do have a favourite potter and you want to support local, which is I'm a huge fan of, don't think you have to get the standard colour palette that you buy in the craft store. This one is one of my favourites. It's got all these little sections and I use it for everything. And it washes up so well, but I do quite often leave my paints to dry out and I'll use the colours again because I like how they've mixed as I've painted. So again, it's up to you whether you're a really tidy painter or a little bit messy like me and you don't want to throw out those beautiful paints and those beautiful colours. So again, this is a really loose style. I'm purposely brushing it on really quickly, lots and lots of water added. So I do generally have a couple of bottles of or jars of water just generally out of picture, out of frame. So make sure that you do have lots of fresh water there so you can rinse off your brush and some paper towel to dab on, otherwise you're going to end up with a huge mess and that's going to drive you a little bit crazy. So again, you can see the beautiful sage or the sap green, the ochre, the burnt umber, and then a blend of everything together too, as you can see my palette. I've been really loose on purpose in the style. I want them to look kind of splodgy and splashed on. Again, that's with my favourite Mont watercolour book. You can see the top, you can actually tear these pages off, which I love because it means I have actually torn a watercolour before, removing it from a book, and I just cried because I was really happy with the work and I tore straight through it accidentally. So this one actually does stop me from doing that. It really does, because it has that little perforation. Again, it's just another little handy thing. And it's the perfect size for me to add to my bujo. I just generally trim the outer edge a little bit so that they all sit uniform, but again, that's totally optional. Good thing about creating your own bujo is you can create any size you want. So if you love this paper or something similar, you can create it to suit you. I actually did speed this up a little bit so you can see, but I did leave this one to be quite a long little portion of the video because I do get a lot of questions about this one. So I'll take advantage of that time I have with you at the moment just to share with you the striped linen that you can see with that gorgeous hand-tied Turkish tassel fringe is actually part of my textile collection and my linen collection. So that's actually a tablecloth, and that fringe is actually handmade in the studio. The linen, and it's printed locally here in Australia. And again, it's completely sewn up here in the studio, so you're supporting local if you're an Aussie, and a small business, a little small business and designer and artist if you are anywhere else in the world. We do send all over the world as well, so if you are interested in looking at our range, just go to my website, again the link's below, and you can search our textile and wallpaper range and our linen range, so that's got the ready-mades available there for you too. And we also have gifting ranges and things like that as well. But if you do want to support the channel and support this little designer, I would appreciate it so very much. Okay, you can see me adding a little bit of spatter here and there. Again, it just totally meant to be a very splashed on, almost like you're looking at an artist's palette. So the page is designed that way on purpose. I then left it to dry completely, so you can see that your watercolors always dry lighter. I didn't get too worried about adding it so the more color, so it was more punchy, because it wouldn't have looked quite so splashed on. And I did want to add in, there's the name color palette there in my, as I said, this is my script. It's all done freehand, so you could always follow along or create one of your own, or you could use a stencil if that's your cup of tea, or even a stamp. So I did add in the words color palette, and then just a couple of really loose little blooms scattered on the edges as well. So we're getting near the end of the August Bujo video. I want to thank you again for being here and supporting me and the channel and my little family as well, because your support actually does support, I can do more of what I love, and it supports my babies and my family. So again, you can see me adding in those little blooms. I'll put all those little links for you below, all my favorites, the paints I use, the pigment liners I use, etc. So that if you would like to snap those up, you can. I will add some links to Amazon as well. I've actually just colored this in really gently, just I felt like it needed to be a little bit punchy. And then I give you a final overview of that. So thank you so much guys for being here. Appreciate you so much, and have a fabulous August.